I used to think that if you loved someone the right way, steady, without games, showing up even when it wasn't convenient, that love would get returned in the same currency. That's a naive thing for a 34-year-old man to admit, especially one who has held bleeding dogs at 2 in the morning and told families that the surgery might not be enough. You learn about harsh math in my line of work. Still, I clung to the idea that love, done earnestly, balanced out in the ledger. My name is Evan Ross. I'm an emergency veterinarian in Denver. If you've ever driven down South Broadway past midnight and seen the blue neon sign that says PETER, I'm probably inside that building with coffee that tastes like burnt almonds. Most nights I walk out when the sky over the Front Range is turning that thin pink that fools you into thinking the day might be gentle. I'm not a dramatic guy. I pay my bills, I call my mother on Sundays, and I have a scooter helmet that makes me look like an overgrown mushroom. That's the shape of me before this storm. I met Maya at Red Rocks at a concert I only half wanted to attend. My friend Quinn had an extra ticket, and the band had more pedals than melodies, but the air smelled like sunscreen and dust and everyone's bad decisions. Maya was 2 rows down, dancing like she was trying to peel off a version of herself and step into a better one. After the show, we got caught in the same slow human river. She pointed at the sky and said, "Those clouds look like a dog chasing a smaller dog." And I laughed because they did, because she was ridiculous in exactly the way that makes life less heavy. She was a UX designer at a travel app that kept laying people off and rehiring them like a magic trick. She grew up in Albuquerque, had a cactus named Walter, and said yes to the world faster than her budget allowed. When we started dating, she brought color into spaces. I hadn't realized I'd left gray bright throw pillows, funky tea mugs, a poster with a roadrunner that said RUN fast, EA trash. We fought sometimes about dishes and whether it was normal to use the oven for storage. It is not. But mostly, we clicked. I thought we were building something. Cole drifted in like someone you don't notice until they're suddenly in all your photos. He was Maya's best friend from college, the type of man who could start a conversation with a traffic cone and have the cone introducing him to its parents by the end of the night. He sold enablement solutions for a startup in Lodo, which I think meant he taught other people to sell. He wore bracelets like a guitarist and said things like, "Vibe check," unironically. At first, I liked him. He made Maya laugh. He asked curious questions about the clinic. He remembered the names of my techs and brought cupcakes with salt sprinkles that were stupidly good. If you had told me that he would one day be the trap door under my life, I would have smiled at you like you were confusing me with a soap opera. The night that should have been just another Thursday, I was grilling on our tiny balcony. The sunset felt expensive streaks of orange peeling behind the Capitol. The city lit like 100 little decisions happening at once. Maya was inside, her phone on speaker. Speaker so loud I could hear both sides of the conversation through the sliding door like the room was a fishbowl, and I was pressing my ear to the glass. "Cole, stop," she was saying, laughing. "No, you're terrible." "You love me terrible," Cole shot back, the grin in his voice so practiced it almost sounded choreographed. "So, how's Dr. Dog?" I wasn't supposed to hear. People say that. People say that when what you hear isn't meant for you. The thing is, if the truth is brittle enough to shatter from sound alone, it was going to shatter either way. So, yes, I listened. "He's fine," she said. "He gets this little furrow when he cooks, as if the meat is personally offending him." "I bet he furrows a lot," Cole said. "In general." "You're messy," she half sang. "Stop." The sizzle of the grill felt too loud. The chicken was burning. I flipped it, focused on the mundane task like it was a moral choice. Inside, there was the scrape of a chair, a glass clink. Maya was in our kitchen with turquoise cabinets she'd convinced me to paint on a Saturday. We were both too tired to stand straight. She was moving in our life like she owned it, and until that second, I loved her for exactly that. Be honest, Cole said. When it's just the two of you, does he make you forget your name, or are we talking more? DMV clerk energy. There was a pause. The kind you feel in your teeth. TMI, Maya said, but the word had that helium float of someone who is about to say the thing anyway. It's fine, she added. It's fine. Fine, Cole echoed, slow. Fine like room temperature fries. Fine like someone bought you lilies when you're allergic. Fine like... Shut up. The way she said it didn't mean shut up. It meant keep going, but make me pretend I'm resisting. Look, Cole said, and then his voice changed, softer, coaxing like a hairstylist before a big chop. You know I want you happy. I worry you're shrinking to fit his life. Long nights, dog hair everywhere, slow weekends. You used to be chaos in a good way. You used to call me from El Paso and say, let's meet in Marfa and get weird. You used to be art. I'm still art, she said, more quickly than she meant to. And Evan's not. He's good. He's steady. Steady can be a euphemism for boring, Cole said, like he was offering a TED Talk, like he was saving her from a mistake she hadn't realized she'd made. Stop acting like you know him, she said. I know you, he said. I know what you sound like when you're settling. You start using words like practical and long-term. You start leaving the room when a song hits the part where it hurts. The balcony suddenly felt like the wrong place to be. I turned off the grill. It hissed like something unfinished. Besides, he added, almost casual, like a grenade tossed underhand, I heard a story about him that didn't thrill me. From who? Maya asked, pure curiosity, zero defense. From a friend of a friend. Said he saw Evan at the river with a brunette, holding hands. The river meant the Platte, meant the concrete trail everyone in Denver eventually steps on while pretending it's wilderness. I hadn't been on the Platte with a brunette, unless you count Mrs. Godfrey Spaniel, who is technically more auburn. The lie was so lazy it almost made me laugh. Almost. That's not. No. Maya's voice was small. No, he wouldn't do that. People do things, Cole said. People you trust do things. I'm not saying dump him. I'm saying don't lock the door from the inside while there's still smoke outside. There was a scrape of a stool. I pictured Maya leaning on the island, twisting the hair tie on her wrist. She does that when she's thinking. Did that, I should say, but at the time I didn't know I'd have to past tense my life. I don't want to talk about this, she said finally. Okay. Cole's voice warmed. Okay, tell me something else. Tell me, you know what? Tell me about his... He paused as if considering whether he should make the joke, then decided to be the brave one. Tell me if steady extends to performance. Maya made a sound that tried to be a groan and failed. I hate you. You love me. I'm just asking the questions the girls in the group chat are too polite to ask. You are the group chat, she said, and they both laughed. I stood in the doorway, one hand on the slider, the other holding a plate of chicken I couldn't remember taking off the grill. I wanted to walk in and say, I can hear you. I wanted to say, I am a real person with a name and a body, not a concept you pass around like a conch. Instead, I stayed in the little no man's land where weather is more honest than people. Look, Maya said then, and her voice did the thing that still kicks me awake sometimes. It softened. It told the truth the way a kid tells the truth, flinching and giggling at once. It's not spectacular. Cole inhaled like he was receiving communion. We don't. There's not a lot of variety. And sometimes afterwards he wants to talk about movies? Like he's doing a debrief. Baby, Cole said, and I hated that word in his mouth. You deserve fireworks, not a post-game interview. They laughed again. The sound jammed under my ribs. Everything in me went very still. I remember thinking, This is the moment. People talk about moments, the exact tenth of a second when history wiggles and you either catch it or miss it. I felt the wiggle. I didn't step into it. I put the plate down. I walked to the sink and ran water as loudly as I could. Inside, Maya said, "He's back," in a stage whisper, and Cole said, "Text me later. I'll be up." And then the call ended and the house reinflated like a lung. I was supposed to ask her how her day was. That's what we do. We put ourselves back into the groove and hope the record doesn't skip. I asked about her day. I poured wine. I joked about the chicken, which was burnt, and she called it blackened like a menu, trying to charge $3 extra for the same fish. We didn't talk about what I'd heard. For 3 days, I tried to will it small. I focused on routines, the clinic, where chaos becomes tethered to protocol, the gym, where you can punish a question into a barbell, the grocery store, where spinach is 2 for $5 and the speaker says, "Produce, produce," like he's hawking Shakespeare. I pretended the fire alarm was a faint beep I could ignore. On the 4th day, the beep was in the room with me. We were at a bar in Rhino with plants in macrame slings and a cocktail named after a 1970s folk singer. Cole was there, because Cole was always there now. He'd started tagging along like a benevolent barnacle. He gave me a hug that lasted 2 seconds too long. The kind that is supposed to erase the fact that he made my girlfriend laugh in octaves she didn't use for me. He called the bartender by name. He ordered for the table. He told a story about a client in Austin that made him sound kind and cannily ruthless. Everyone loved him. I understood it is dangerous to believe that charming people are harmless. It is also human. There was a moment, I'll never forget it, when Maya left for the bathroom and Cole turned to me with his elbows on the table and said, "You and I should hang out one-on-one sometime. Do a guy's night. Talk shop." "What shop?" I asked. "You know, your shop. My shop. The shop of being modern men." He winked, and if I had trusted my gut, that wink would have been a smoke signal. Instead I said, "Sure," because I was a man trying to order normal off a menu that had discontinued it. When Maya came back, Cole offered to show us this rooftop downtown that had a view of everything. Coors Field, the Pepsi Center, this skinny sliver of moon like a mistake someone forgot to erase. He knew the bouncer, obviously. We stood against the railing with the night licking our faces, and Cole said, apropos of nothing, "Do you ever feel like you picked a lane too early?" "No," I said. "Sometimes," Maya said, and leaned her head on my shoulder the way people do in movies when they love each other. I held her and felt like a prop made of good intentions. In the car home, she said, "You're quiet." "Just tired," I lied. "You should nap like cats," she said. "Anywhere, anytime." I wanted to ask her who she texted when she couldn't sleep. I wanted to ask if the girls in the group chat asked about my performance. Instead, I said, "I'll try." The thing about being hurt and not saying anything is that your body says it for you. The next week, I botched a vein on a dehydrated lab because my hands were shaking. I stood in the supply closet and breathed like a YouTube video told me to. My tech, Luz, found me there and said, "Are you breaking up with your body or your girlfriend?" Luz has a way of aiming at the thing without looking like she's aiming. I said, "Both, maybe." And she handed me a bottle of water and a granola bar that tasted like compressed hay. "Talk to her," she said, "or talk to a wall, but don't talk to the voices in your head that hate you. Those ones lie." On Friday, I came home early. I told myself I'd cook and we'd talk, and I'd say, "I overheard you on the balcony. It will be an ugly conversation, but clear water is better than river mud." I put my phone on the counter. I preheated the oven. I opened a bottle of wine because courage sometimes looks like a corkscrew. I heard the shower running. Maya's iPad was on the dining table, open to a blue bubble conversation that looked like a pond. I did not pick it up to snoop. I picked it up to put it to sleep so the battery wouldn't die. The thing about intentions is that sometimes they don't matter. Most stories that end with, "I saw something I can't unsee," start with someone saying, "I wasn't looking." A message lit up as the screen woke from Cole, "Need you tonight. Let me call you from my laptop. Doing this on the phone is risky." A second bubble appeared, then a third. The typing dots looked like a heartbeat. Maya replied, "Don't be dramatic." "Cole, I'm not. If he's already getting suspicious, we need to get in front of it." "Maya, he's not suspicious. Evan, he thinks good things first." "Cole, all the more reason to, be ready. If he asks hard questions, we keep it simple. You got emotional. You said things you didn't mean. He's sensitive about. We don't have to humiliate him. We just have to plant enough doubt that he looks defensive if he brings it up." "Maya, I hate this." "Cole, I know. I'll make it up to you. Let me call. 10 minutes?" The shower was still running. The wine in my glass looked suddenly obscene. I scrolled up. I told myself I was already in the house. I might as well turn on the light. The message history was worse in its mundanity than any porn could have been. Video links, memes, screenshots of my text to Maya cropped to remove her flirty lines so it looked like I was a nag. Voice notes. A lot of voice notes. Cole's voice is one that likes to be heard. I listened to one without sound, just watching the waveform, because I wasn't ready to let it into my head. Then I tapped another and heard, "Trust me, I know how to get him to show his real self. He's polite to a fault. You poke at certain spots, the places where he thinks he's stronger than he is, and he'll either retreat or snap. If he retreats, you'll finally see him. If he snaps, you'll finally see him." I should have put the iPad down. I should have walked into the bathroom and said, "I love you. Your friend is not your friend. We need to talk now." I didn't. I scrolled. I found the night of the balcony, replayed as text messages like stage directions after the show. "Cole, ask about variety. I'll lead." "Maya, don't be gross." "Cole, not gross. Honest. Men need honesty. He needs to stop thinking steady is a personality." "Maya, I'm not doing this to hurt him." "Cole, you're doing this to save you." I put the iPad down like it was made of wasps. My heart was small and fast and trying to leave my body. I walked to the bathroom. I knocked, and when she said, "Come in," with that perfect easy tone that belongs to people who assume they are loved, I stepped into steam and eucalyptus and the body I knew as well as my own and said, "Hey, we need to talk." The conversation did not go the way I had rehearsed. In my rehearsals, she cried immediately and said, "I know, I'm sorry, I've been stupid." Or she got angry and said, "You violated my privacy," which I could argue against because I hadn't meant to read anything. The real conversation was a third thing, slippery and infuriating and designed to make me doubt my own eyes. "What are you talking about?" she asked, scrubbing shampoo into her hair like she could wash the question away. "Cole," I said. "The messages. He's trying to—" "Evan." She put both hands on her head, my eyes, shampoo. I stepped back, flustered. She rinsed. She shut the water off and wrapped in a towel-like dignity itself. "Okay," she said. "What did you read?" "I didn't mean to read anything," I said. "Your iPad was on the table. It lit up. He said he needs you tonight and that doing it on the phone is risky. And then there were messages about making me look defensive if I ask questions. Suppose I'm—" She snorted. "Suppose. You already decided." "I didn't decide. I'm telling you what I saw. You're telling me a weird, out-of-context slice of a conversation you were not invited to," she said. And if her tone had a taste, it would have been wet metal. Cole's dramatic. He's always like that. And yes, he thinks he knows things about people. He's often wrong. He told you to ask about variety. He coached you. The night on the balcony. Her face changed then, but not the way I expected. Not guilt, not shame. Fury, hot as a stove coil. "You listened?" You were on speaker. The door was open. You listened, she repeated, as if repetition could turn my behavior into the only sin in the room. Jesus, Evan. What was I supposed to do? Announce myself loudly every time I walk through my own home? You were supposed to trust me. I did, I said, and the past tense came out like a mistake. I do. I want to. The what I saw, what I heard. You saw a sliver, she said. Cole likes to stir. He thinks he's helping. Sometimes he's not. Sometimes he says too much. But the idea that he's orchestrating some campaign, that's paranoid. He literally used the word orchestrate, I said. She rolled her eyes. He also uses words like vibe and synergy. He's an idiot sometimes. She said it fondly, like idiot was another word for beloved. I'm not having this argument when I'm wet. Let me get dressed. She walked past me, leaving a damp trail on the tile. I stood there with my hands empty. I thought of Luz telling me to talk to a wall rather than the voices that lie. The wall would have been kinder. We sat on the edge of the bed like a brochure for sad hotels. She put lotion on her legs with furious efficiency. I had never thought there was a wrong way to moisturize until that night. Do you want to be with me? I asked, because underneath all the sticky, ugly specifics, that is the only question that matters. Yes, she said instantly, and for a moment I believed her. Then she added, but I want to be with all of me, not just the version that fits your routines. I don't want you small, I said. I want you exactly the size you are. Then stop trying to control what my friendships look like, she said. I'm not trying to control anything. I'm saying your best friend is triangulating you. He's making me the enemy in a story where there wasn't one. Cole's been there for me since before you, she said. He was there when my dad died. He flew to Albuquerque and sat with my mom while I cleaned out the garage. Where were you then? I didn't know you then, I said. Exactly. She stood, tossed the lotion on the bed like a gauntlet. You don't get to rewrite my loyalties because you're insecure. There it was. The word people always reach for when you name something that hurts. Insecure. I wanted to shout that there is a difference between insecurity and observation, that I was not asking for guarantees about the future, but pointing at a crack in the foundation. Instead, I said, I'm not insecure. I'm telling you I feel unsafe in the story he's telling you about me. She rubbed her face. I'm tired, she said. Can we not do this? Can you trust me? I looked at her and thought of Cole's voice notes, of the way he said we, like he and Maya were a unit on one side of the chessboard and I was a pawn on the other. I wanted to trust her. I wanted it like thirst. Okay, I said. I'll try. We slept badly, macing into two separate edges of the mattress like cliff dwellers. In the morning, I kissed her forehead and she said, I love you, and I said it back like a spell we hoped still worked. For a week we were fragile normal. We went to the farmer's market and bought peaches that jerked down our wrists. We watched an old movie where the couple solves crimes and also their marriage. At night, I could feel the space where the thought lived that I was not saying out loud, as palpable as a bruise under clothing. I told myself I would wait. I told myself it was better to have proof than fight about smoke. Proof came from a place I didn't expect. Cole's ex, Anita. We'd met twice at parties and once at a Rockies game where she wore a hat that looked like it could host a small bird. She messaged me on Instagram, which is not where you expect to receive the pivot point of your life. Hey, this is random, she wrote, but can I ask you something about Maya and Cole? I stared at the screen. I typed, you can ask. I might not answer. Then I deleted it and typed, sure, what's up? She took a minute to reply, like she was choosing a door. Then, I don't want to be in your business. I really don't. But, I dated Cole for 3 years. I know how he operates. I watched him chip away at people he wanted to separate. He makes it look like he's protecting them while he's isolating them. I saw he's been around you two a lot. Has he? Said anything that feels off? I called her because suddenly texts were too flimsy for the weight of the thing I was holding. She picked up on the second ring with a brisk, "Anita." Her voice sounded like someone who files things and knows where to find them again. "I might be paranoid," I said without hello, "but yes, he's said and done things that feel off." She exhaled like she was both relieved and sorry. "He did the same with me," she said. "With my family, with friends, with my work. He made me think he understood me best and that everyone else was slightly against me. He was never overtly mean. He framed everything as concern. That's how he gets you. He's the softest knife." I was silent for a second. The phrase hit too clean. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I saw a picture," she said. "On Maya's story, the three of you at that rooftop. That's his habitat, being the center of a triangle. I thought maybe you needed someone to say out loud what you already know." She paused. "And because I have receipts, if you want them." "Receipts?" "I work in compliance," she said. "I keep things. When he and I broke up, I thought I was crazy for a long time. Then I realized I had kept records without meaning to. Emails, messages, audio from a work call. He didn't realize he'd put on speaker. He tried to manipulate my boss into thinking I was unstable so he'd look like my savior. It's a pattern. When I saw your name in his texts..." "My name is in his texts?" She made a small, sympathetic sound. "Evan, your name is in his texts. He thinks in storylines. Right now, you're the antagonist in his Save Maya from Ordinariness's arc. He will feed that story until it eats the furniture." My mouth was dry. "Can we meet?" We met at a cafe in Capitol Hill that serves coffee on wooden boards like it's evidence. Anita wore a blazer in July and pulled it off. She had a folder, because of course she had a folder. She flipped it open like a lawyer in a TV show, and there was Cole on paper screenshots of messages where the concern was always a thin coat of paint over contempt, notes on calls, a printout of a Slack thread where he created a problem and then offered to solve it. It was like seeing the blueprints of a house you'd been haunting without realizing it. "This isn't about revenge," she said. "It's about pattern recognition. He likes women like Maya. Bright, quick, full of big color. He tells them that the world wants to dim them, and then he convinces them that he's the only one who sees them lit. It feels like love. It is not love. It's control with better copywriting." I nodded, because I didn't have words yet that weren't swear words. She slid one more page across to me, then seemed to think better of it and pulled it back. "What?" I asked. "It's something else," she said. "Look, I don't know if this helps you or hurts you, but this is a transcript of a voice note he sent a mutual friend about you." She let me read. Cole's voice in text sounded even worse than in my ear. Self-satisfied, faux sad. "I'll get Maya to admit she's bored. If she lands the plane there, she'll always equate bored with Evan. Then when I introduce a little turbulence, I'll be the excitement she thinks she chose. The plan was not even subtle. There are villains who hide their monologues. Then there are the kind who practice them." "How did you get this?" I asked. "People talk," she said. "And some people hate him now more than I do. He burned a bridge at his old job. This came from a guy who knows how to extract audio from a cloud backup." She made a face. "Don't ask. The point is, you're not crazy." On the walk home, Denver felt different. Like someone had shifted the horizon line a few degrees and nothing sat where it used to. I passed a mural I'd barely noticed before, a giant fox with bright turquoise eyes. For the first time, it looked like it was watching me back, waiting to see what I would do with the knowledge I'd been handed. I did not handle it delicately. I wish I could say I took a weekend to breathe and plan. I went home, put the folder in my backpack, and texted Maya, "Can we talk tonight?" Not the kind of talk we avoid, the real one. She replied immediately, "I have dinner with Cole. He got reservations at this new place on Larimer. Can it wait?" The message hit me in a stupid place. The place where 12-year-olds live inside grown men. I wrote, It can't, but I'll try. Have fun. Then I deleted have fun and wrote, okay, later tonight? She sent a thumbs up, the least human of all affirmations. I paced the apartment like I was trying to wear a groove into it. I picked up the iPad and put it down. I opened the fridge and closed it. I told myself that waiting until after her dinner was a kindness, that I wasn't going to show up and make a scene in a restaurant, that I wasn't the kind of man who creates memories other people can tell at parties in a voice like mine, but thinner. I lasted 20 minutes. Then I grabbed my keys and went to the clinic. Work was a better room to be in. There was a terrier who had eaten a sock and a cat who hated everyone equally, and a teenager who cried when I told him his lizard would probably make it if we kept him warm. There's a thing that happens to me sometimes, mid-shift, a clean siloing. The personal catastrophe goes into a labeled bin, and I do the math in front of me, fluid rates, sedation doses, the curve of a spleen on an ultrasound. For 2 hours, I didn't think about Cole and Maya. For 2 hours, I was a man in a narrow world where right actions exist and you take them and outcomes follow. At 9, Luz looked at me over a file and said, "Go home, or go wherever you need to go that isn't here. Your face is trying to be a rock and it's failing." I said, "Yes, boss," and left. I didn't go home. I went to the restaurant on Larimer because I am not brave enough to be the man who makes a scene. But I am petty enough to want to see the scene before it becomes a story. I am told later with edits. The host asked if I had a reservation, and I said I was meeting friends and scanned the room like a man who has lost his wallet. They were at a table near the back, under a monstera that looked like it could pick up and leave if it didn't like the playlist. Maya was leaning in, animated, her hands drawing shapes in the air. Cole was listening like he invented the concept. They look like the version of adulthood Instagram promises. Beautiful, lit, curated. I stood there long enough that a server asked me if I was okay. I said yes and left before I did the thing I came not to do. Outside, the air had that faint electric taste it gets before a storm. I walked to my scooter and sat on it without starting it, feeling the city skittering by around me. I could go home and wait and talk like a calm person later. Or I could ruin the night and my dignity in one expensive scene. I did a third thing. I texted Maya, "When you're done, come home alone. We need to talk tonight. No later, no tomorrow." She wrote back immediately, "Okay, are you okay?" I typed, "No," and sent it. Then I put my phone away like it was something that bit. When she came in at 10:30, I was at the table with Anita's folder open like a courtroom. It was not my best look. Maya saw it and went still. "What is this?" she asked. "This is me trying to talk to you with more than feelings," I said. "This is me trying to show you a pattern. Your best friend is not your best friend. He makes me the villain because he needs a dragon to kill to feel like a knight." She didn't sit. She hovered like a hummingbird, all motion and suspicion. "Did you hire a PI?" "No," I said. "I talked to his ex. She had artifacts." "Artifacts," she repeated, a bitter laugh hiding under the word. "God, Evan, you sound like you're building a case." "I am." I surprised myself with how steady my voice was. "Because you didn't believe me when I told you what I heard and saw. You said I was paranoid. I'm not. I'm careful." She opened the folder and flipped through, fast, like she could speed run denial. She landed on the transcript of the voice note and read. Her mouth tightened. "Where did this come from?" she asked. "A mutual friend of his and Anita's extracted it from a backup," I said. "So it's illegally obtained gossip," she said. "Great." "It's also his words," I said. "You can feel however you need to about how it came to you, but don't tell me it isn't what it is." She shut the folder. "I don't like being cornered." "I'm not cornering you," I said. "I'm asking you to step back from someone who is actively undermining us. Us, Maya. Not me. Us." She looked at me like I was asking her to change religions. He's my friend, she said. He's my family. I'm supposed to be your family too, I said. And then the thing that had been living in the room between us sat up and demanded attention. Did you ever tell him the things you told him about me that night? That you were bored? That you felt fine? I hated the word now. Fine. It felt like a bruise someone kept poking to see if I would flinch. She closed her eyes. Oh my God, she said. This is what it's about. Your ego. My ego, I repeated. And then, because sometimes the only way you can move forward is to do the thing you planned not to do. I said, okay, fine. My ego hurts. Because my girlfriend laughed with another man about my body like I was a Yelp review. Because that man has been inserting himself into our relationship like he's a consultant hired to improve morale. Because when I say that hurts, you tell me I'm paranoid. She held the back of a chair like it was the railing of a ship. I don't know what you want from me, she said finally. Do you want me to cut him out? Do you want me to apologize for every word I said when I was venting? Do you want me to be different? I want you to see what he's doing, I said. I want you to protect us the way I would protect you if someone came into your world and started loosening bolts. And if I don't? She asked, and the room went very quiet. Then I can't be here, I said, and I felt it land between us like a glass breaking. I hadn't planned to say that out loud yet, but there it was, truth shaped like an exit sign. She stared at me. So it's him or you? It's us or him, I said. That's the precise math. She didn't cry. Maya rarely cried. She went cold instead, a skill she learned from a childhood of watching adults make promises the way other people make sandwiches. I need time, she said. You've had time, I said. I've been quiet so long I can hear my own teeth grind. She looked at the folder, then at me, then at the bedroom, calculating a dozen imaginary futures. I'll stay at my place tonight, she said, and then caught herself. At our place, she amended, because we had moved her into my apartment, or I had moved into hers, or we had moved into each other, and labels don't matter as much as who has the key. I'll go, she said again, and then she packed a bag like a person fleeing a storm that might be over, might only be beginning. When the door shut, the quiet was the loudest thing I had ever heard. I sat at the table with the artifacts of someone else's patterns and thought, this is the middle of the story where the hero does the wrong thing for what he thinks are the right reasons. Then I wondered if I was the hero at all. The next morning, she texted, lunch? Neutral place? We met at a park in Lohi where people pretend grass can solve anything. She brought coffee. I brought nothing because everything I had to bring she didn't want to hold. We sat on a bench under a cottonwood that rained fluff like low-stakes snow. I read more last night, she said without preamble. I talked to Cole. Of course you did, I said, and my voice was a thing I didn't like. Dry, cruel. I'm not built for cruelty. It creaks in my mouth. He said Anita's obsessed, she said. He said she's been trying to smear him since they broke up. Did you read what he wrote? I asked. Not what she wrote about what he wrote, his words. I did, she said. I also know people can make anything look like context if they curate hard enough. Do you think I curated this? I asked. Jesus, Maya. I'm a vet. The only thing I curate is which sticker a kid gets when we give his dog a vaccine. She laughed despite herself, a little burst of former us. Then she looked away. I'm trying to figure out what is mine in this, she said. What is my actual feeling and what is noise? When I strip the noise away, what I feel is crowded. I feel like there are too many voices in my head. Yours, his, mine, Anita's, everyone. She pressed her palms into her eyes like she could press thought into shape. I used to be decisive, she said. Now I'm a committee. I don't want to be a voice in your head, I said. I want to be the person next to you while you listen to your own. That's beautiful, she said. That's the most Evan thing you've ever said. She sipped her coffee. It also doesn't fix the fact that you snooped. I know, I said, because at some point you stop contesting every charge and plead guilty to the ones you can live with. I also know that if I hadn't, you would still be in a room with him tonight, letting him tell you what your feelings are. She watched a dog chase a frisbee with the seriousness of a war. I'm going to take space, she said finally, from you. She saw my face. And from him, she added quickly, from everyone. She breathed out. A week. No calls, no texts. I need to hear myself. A week felt like a polite way to say forever. Okay, I said, because what else do you say to someone asking for a thing you can't refuse without turning into a version of yourself you despise? The week was a dream where you run but don't move. I worked. I slept in pockets. I ate cereal for dinner and then forgot if I had. On day 3, Cole texted me, "Can we talk man to man?" I stared at the screen so long it timed out. Then I typed, "We don't have anything to say to each other." He wrote back, "I get that you're hurt. I'm sorry for any part I played. I truly want Maya happy. I believe you want that too. If we have that in common, we can work this out." It was remarkable how he made it sound like we were co-parents of Maya's joy. I didn't reply. He sent a voice note. I didn't open it. He sent another. Then another. They stacked like plates in a sink. Finally, because I have a flaw where I have to know the thing even when it will hurt me, I pressed play on one. "Evan," his voice said, soft, repentant, the voice of a man who has watched apology videos and knows which notes to hit. "I'm sorry," I pushed. "I get passionate about the people I love, and sometimes I insert myself where I shouldn't. I see how that looks. I wish you had come to me first, brother. We could have aligned. There's a path here where we both get what we want. You get a relationship that breathes. Maya gets to be fully Maya. I get to be the friend I've always been. I'm willing to do the work to rebuild trust with you." It was such an artful arrangement of syllables that if I hadn't seen his words on paper, the unvarnished ones, I might have believed him. As it was, I wanted to throw my phone into the plat and watch a goose peck it into silence. On day 5, Anita texted me a single line. "He's meeting with a coworker tonight who knows the backup guy. They might be trying to figure out who leaked the audio. Be careful." Be careful, when applied to men like Cole, means expect your story to get told without you in it. Expect to be framed as the jealous boyfriend, the controlling man, the out-of-his-league guy who couldn't handle a woman with a social life. I could already hear the script. On day 6, Maya broke the no contact. She texted, "Dinner tomorrow? My place. Just you." The "just you" felt like an oxygen tank. I wrote back, "Yes, whatever time." She replied, 7. I arrived at 6005 because I didn't trust time to do what it was told. She had set the table like we were auditioning for an ad about second chances. There were candles, there was a salad with watermelon, there was a playlist that used to be ours. She looked tired in a way that made me want to sit on the floor and let her head fall into my lap like a dog who finally gave up being brave. We ate. We didn't talk about Cole. We talked about boring things on purpose. Luz's boyfriend, my landlord's obsession with the trash schedule, her cactus, which was blooming like a miracle. We washed dishes. It felt almost like a regular night in a life I had loved so easily. Then she said, "I need to tell you something," and the floor under the scene evaporated. "I talked to him," she said. "I told him I need space." I exhaled like I'd been punched in the stomach, and the air had finally remembered how to behave. "Okay," I said, and then, because the ghost of my better self still haunted the room, "Thank you." "He didn't take it well," she said. "He cried." I stared. "He cried." I repeated, "because I am petty and also human." "Don't." She shook her head. "Don't make that face. People cry." She looked at the sink. "He said I was abandoning him. He said he had always been there for me. He said a lot of things, and then he said you were manipulating me. I haven't spoken to you in a week, I said. I know, she said. I told him that. He said silence is a kind of manipulation too. She gave a small laugh that wasn't a laugh. He said a lot of things, she repeated, and rubbed her arm like she was cold. I wanted to hold her. I didn't. Instead I said, "What do you want, Maya?" She looked at me. I want to be with someone who doesn't make me feel like I have to choose between love and freedom. I'm not asking you to choose that, I said. I'm asking you to choose between love and a man who needs everyone to orbit him to feel warm. She took a breath. I think I want you, she said. I think I want us. The word think is a small bomb. I nodded as if it weren't ticking. Okay, I said, then let's make a plan. Boundaries. No more one-on-ones with him while we figure this out. No more speakerphone when I'm in the next room. No more letting him define who I am to you. She nodded. Okay, she said. Okay. We kissed, and it felt like someone opening a window in a room you didn't know was stale. We went to bed and did the soft choreography of two people who remember how to make each other feel safe. We fell asleep with our knees touching. If the story had ended there, this would be a boring story about ordinary people doing the right next thing. But it didn't end there. It never ends there, not with men like Cole. At 2 a.m., her phone lit the room. She fumbled for it. I was awake instantly, the way you are when you know the ghost schedule. She turned away from me and whispered, "Hello?" I sat up. She tensed like a kid caught out past curfew. "It's him," she mouthed, like she was confessing to a priest. I got up and walked to the kitchen and stood in the dark. I didn't overhear so much as receive. The words came in through the thin drywall like steam. "I can't lose you," Cole was saying. "Everyone leaves me." "I'm not everyone," Maya said, and the way she said it made me both love her and want to move to a city whose name she couldn't pronounce. "You're all I have that makes sense," he said. "Do you remember the night on the roof when you said the world felt too neat? You're the one person who keeps it interesting." "I'm with Evan," she said. "I told you." "He's small," Cole said, and I felt it like a physical thing, like a hand on my head pushing me underwater. "I'm not saying that to be mean. He's small for you. You're letting him shrink you because it's easier than admitting I'm the only one who can keep up." "Don't talk about him like that," she said, and I held onto the edge of the counter because I needed to hold onto something. "I'm not coming at you," he said. "I'm begging you. Don't disappear into a life that will bore you. You'll resent him. You'll resent yourself. You'll resent me for saying nothing." She was quiet. Then she said, "Good night, Cole," and hung up. She walked into the kitchen where I stood like a shopping cart someone forgot to push. She put her head against my chest and said, "I'm sorry." "You don't have to be sorry for someone calling you," I said. "Just don't answer at 2 a.m. anymore. Not for him." She nodded. "Okay." We tried. For 3 days we tried. She didn't pick up his calls. He sent her flowers at work that said "Nothing changes how I love you" in a font that belongs on wedding invitations and restraining orders. She sent them back. He sent cupcakes. She returned those too, which hurt me because I like cupcakes even when they are weaponized. He sent a long email that read like a breakup letter to a person he had never dated. She forwarded it to me and wrote, "I'm sorry, I'm trying." And then the thing happened that ripped the story open so wide there was no pretending it was a misunderstanding. Cole confronted me at the clinic. It was a Tuesday. I was at the front desk going over estimates for a husky who had reenacted a scene from a film where someone eats light bulbs. Cole walked in like a man who had been invited. He wore a jacket even though it was 85, which felt like a metaphor for someone who loves layers. Luz looked up and said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "I'm here for Evan," like he knew my schedule. "I'm working," I said when he approached the counter. My voice had the coolness I reserve for people who tell me they can't afford a surgery and then ask if we can do half of it. "It'll take a second," he said. He leaned in, man to man. Luz, who has a sixth sense for when men say that and mean something else, said, "You can step into the consultation room and open the door because she is a benevolent witch." I walked in. He followed. Luz stayed by the door like a chaperone, which I loved her for so purely I almost wrote her into my will on the spot. "First," Cole said, hands open like he was surrendering, "I'm sorry if I made you feel disrespected." "Elif," I said. "I shouldn't have pushed Maya to talk about personal things," he said. I was out of line. "You coached her," I said. "You tried to make me look defensive so you could call me defensive." He breathed, a small laugh that wanted to be self-effacing. "You're very literal," he said. "I value that. Here's what I propose. We reset. We both step back from the narrative. We let Maya be Maya. We don't make her choose." "You already made her choose," I said. "Every day you made it about you. You were making her choose without saying the word." His eyes cooled. It was small, but it changed his face the way a shadow changes the hallway. "You're not equipped for her," he said. "That's not your fault. You're built for reliability. She's built for weather." I laughed, a sound with no joy in it. "Get out," I said, and Luz moved like she had practiced the choreography of escorting men out of rooms. He raised his hands again, still playing harmless, and said, "Okay, I tried." At the door he paused and turned back, and that's when he made his mistake. "You know she told me about the thing," he said, eyes sliding down like a cheap insult. "About how it's fine." He smiled. "No hard feelings, brother." Luz stepped between us like she was made of titanium. I said nothing because there are things that if you say them out loud, you have to start throwing things to make your mouth stop moving. He left. Luz closed the door with more force than necessary and said, "Want me to release the hounds? We do not have hounds. We have 2 cats in recovery who would have been useless in a fight." I said, "No," and sat down and put my head in my hands and laughed because otherwise I would have howled. That night, I didn't ask Maya to choose. I told her I was choosing for me. "I'm going to step back," I said, "not because I don't love you, because I do. Because I want to love you in a world where your best friend isn't narrating me into a corner." "No," she said immediately, and her face did the thing again, the thing where she looked like a kid whose cake someone cut into the wrong number of slices. "No, don't go. I'll fix it." "You can't fix other people," I said. "You can only decide where you stand while they try to fix themselves." She cried then. It broke something in me that had been holding on by its nails. I held her. We fell asleep without solving anything because no one solves anything at night. In the morning she said, "Give me one more day." And I said yes, because I am not a hero, and I will always say yes when someone I love asks for one more day. At noon, Anita texted me a screenshot. It was Cole's calendar. Someone had sent it to her because the city is smaller than it looks. At 7 p.m., a meeting, M+E intervention. Under it, a location I recognized, a bar in 5 Points that Cole loves because the bartenders pretend his jokes are new. I called Maya. "Do you know about this?" I asked. She was quiet, a second too long. "He said he wanted to apologize," she said. "He said he wanted to do it with both of us." "Maya," I said, and it came out like a prayer and a curse. "Don't go." "I want to hear him," she said. "I want him to hear you." "What he wants is a stage," I said. "He wants an audience." She said my name the way you say a word to see if it still fits in your mouth. "Please," she said, "come." I looked at the clock. I looked at the folder. I looked at the part of me that wanted to burn everything down and salt the ground. Then I said, "Okay." Because sometimes you go to the theater even when you know the ending, just to watch the lighting. I got there early. I sat in a corner booth where the leather is cracked like dry riverbed. I ordered a club soda because I wanted my mouth to be clear when I said the things I had to say. I took the folder out of my bag and put it next to me like a quiet friend. At 7005, Maya walked in. She looked like a person who had practiced 3 different faces in the mirror and chosen the one that hurt least. She slid into the booth and grabbed my hand under the table like it was hers to grab. At 7 top herself, Cole arrived, smiling like a man who knows the camera is on him even when it isn't. He opened his arms as if we were a family reunited after a long miscommunication. He started to speak. And that's where I'm going to stop, because there's a certain kind of silence I want you to hear before the next part begins. The held breath right before a match is struck. The moment before the trap closes, and the person who thought they were the hunter realizes they were bait the whole time. Cole slid into the booth like he owned the leather, like the place had been designed to stage his speeches. He stretched his arms along the backrest, smiled with the ease of a man about to enjoy his own performance, and said, "Finally, the 3 of us. No more whispers, no more middlemen, just truth." Maya sat stiffly beside me, our knees pressed together but cold. I didn't answer. I let him spool his rope. "You know what kills relationships?" Cole began, his voice pitched just enough to reach the nearby tables. Silence. Pretending everything is fine until it's not. I care about both of you, and I couldn't watch you walk into years of quiet resentment without trying to shake the snow globe a little. I stared. "Shake the snow globe," I repeated. "That's what you call sabotaging us?" He tilted his head, sympathetic, like a teacher with a struggling student. "You hear sabotage. I hear intervention. Sometimes you need an outside perspective to see if what you have is real or just habit." Maya opened her mouth, but I squeezed her hand under the table. Let him talk, I thought. Every word was a shovel, and he was digging. "I've seen Maya at her brightest," Cole went on. "Spontaneous road trips, laughing at nothing, chasing art shows in warehouses nobody knew existed. And then I see her now, coming home to routine, to a man who means well but doesn't spark her." He gestured toward me like I was a cautionary tale on a PowerPoint slide. "You're good, Evan. You are. But good isn't the same as alive." The bartender passed, and I caught his eye. He glanced at Cole, then at me, and shook his head almost imperceptibly. Even strangers could smell the performance. "Here's what I think," Cole continued, leaning in as if bestowing wisdom. "You two could keep doing this, pretending stability equals love. Or you could admit you're mismatched. Maya, you deserve fire. Evan, you deserve someone who worships your steadiness instead of suffocating under it. That's not an insult, that's compatibility." I let the silence stretch. Then I reached into my bag and placed Anita's folder on the table. His smile flickered, just for a second. "You know what else kills relationships?" I said. "Manipulation. Coaching your best friend to humiliate her partner. Inventing rumors about brunettes on the Platte. Telling her to bait me into looking defensive. That ring a bell?" His mask slipped, then reassembled. "Wow," he said softly. "This is what she told you? That's?" "It's what you told her," I cut in. "And then told other people. In voice notes. In texts. We're not here tonight because you care about love. We're here because you wanted an audience." Maya's hand trembled in mine. She whispered, "Is that true, Cole?" He laughed. A brittle sound, too sharp for the room. "You think an ex with a grudge and some doctored screenshots is proof? Come on, Maya. You know me." "I thought I did," she said. Her voice was so low, I almost missed it. Cole leaned forward, his charm curdling. "He's twisting you. Don't you see? He's making me the villain so he doesn't have to face the fact that he's small." That word again. Small. My jaw clenched so hard it ached. I pushed the folder toward Maya. "Read it yourself. Decide what's real." She flipped through screenshots, transcripts, timestamps. Cole's voice, bragging about landing the plane on boredom, about introducing turbulence. Her face changed as she read, each page a blade. When she finally looked up, she was pale. Cole, she said, almost gently. Why? His mouth opened, closed. For once, no script, just silence, heavy as wet wool. You wanted me miserable so you could be the cure, she said. You wanted to be the only voice in my head, and I let you. Don't, he whispered. Don't do this. You and I, we're nothing, she said. Clear, sharp, final. He stood abruptly, knocking his glass. Soda spilled across the table. You'll regret this, he hissed. Both of you. When the thrill fades and all that's left is his boring little routines, you'll think of me. He stormed out, leaving the smell of lime and bitterness behind. Maya and I sat in silence. Finally, she whispered, I feel sick. I nodded. Me too. The fallout wasn't cinematic. There were no police reports, no dramatic revenge arcs, just the slow, ordinary work of unwinding a spell. Maya blocked his number, unfollowed, deleted. But ghosts don't disappear neatly. They rattle for weeks. She jumped when her phone buzzed. She cried once while brushing her teeth. I held her, but sometimes I wondered if she was crying for me or for the version of Cole she believed in. We tried. For a while, we really did. Date nights, long walks, therapy sessions where I said, I feel, more times than I thought possible. But trust, once cracked, doesn't glue back clear. Every silence felt loaded. Every text she typed too long made me think of typing dots on Cole's laptop. One night, a month later, she said, I think we broke even if we're still here. And I knew she was right. We ended quietly. No slammed doors, no shattered dishes. She moved out, Cactus Walter riding shotgun in her car. We hugged in the parking lot, both crying, both knowing it was the kindest thing left. Now it's a year later. I still work nights at the clinic. I still drink bad coffee. Sometimes I think of her when I see turquoise or when a dog named Walter comes in. I don't hate her. I don't even hate Cole, though I should. I just learned. I learned that some people aren't trying to love you. They're trying to cast you in a story where they look heroic. I learned that steadiness isn't boring. It's rare, and only some people know how to hold it. And I learned that if you hear laughter on the other side of a door and it sounds like it's carving you down, don't ignore it. Open the door, step inside, save yourself early. Because the longer you wait, the smaller you'll feel. And none of us were born to be small. That was one wild ride, but I'm curious. What would you have done in his shoes? Walked away earlier or tried to fight harder for the relationship? Share your opinion below, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next one.